Self-expression. Is it any wonder? And yes, it's fucking cold. I am working to increase my brain and body's tolerance of sensation. Its ability to experience sensation, in particular fear, because it seems to feel a lot of that, and not slip into some sort of survival mechanism like dissociation. Because dissociation and every version of it, depersonalization, derealization, is all a part of the brain perceiving a threat, and in an attempt to soften the experience of potential death, because that's what it feels like it's facing, it creates a disconnect. It kind of pushes me out of body so that, again, the potential experience of death is perhaps a less traumatic one, I suppose. Whatever the trauma is. But in reality, because it's preventing the emotional experience of that trauma from taking place, it's keeping that energy stuck. It's not allowing the emotion to be felt that would be associated with the event. It's not allowing the full sensation, the experience of it, and it's a protective mechanism. And I get it, and I'm not mad at it. I appreciate it. And it's gotten me here. It's gotten me this far. But it is so overreactive, and it's so fascinating to witness. It's so overreactive that it, first of all, is afraid of just about everything. It's afraid of things going wrong, and it's afraid of things going right. So that doesn't leave very much within the realm of experience. There's a very limited and small margin of sensation that the brain itself allows as acceptable, appropriate, and safe. For whatever reason, not trying to delve into that and understand why. This is just what it is. It has a very minute threshold of allowable experience before it starts to panic one direction or the other. And when it feels panic, then it says, we dissociate, we get away from the panic instead of sitting in the anxiety and the intensity of that sensation. And it's been this way for most of my life. I had my first nervous breakdown at 17. I had what could be considered another nervous breakdown at 31. I guess I was 30 at that point. I don't know. Time is not a thing. But it's been a journey, especially since the last one, to really try to just get back into my body and allow the experience of everything. And at this point, I don't want to revile and shun traditional psychology, but it falls short for me. Jungian psychology, I can get on board with that internally. That resonates. That feels more true to me because of its recognition of the aspects of self and focus on integration. and awareness of the collective, how that affects things. But otherwise, traditional psychology just, it makes things harder from what I have experienced. Just doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel applicable. So I am approaching all of the experience of self from a spiritual perspective, which means there is a certain amount of depersonalization and derealization involved in general, because I am examining self, I am questioning self continuously and paying attention to what are these pieces that I call myself that really are not. They are, but they are not, right? Everything is a part of myself, but what is the most essential? What is the more true? And I know it's all me. Everything is self. Ultimately, there is nothing that is other than, there is nothing that is not the same singular self, the one consciousness that not only is flowing through all of us, but all of everything. So it feels, again and again, the most that I can do is just accept the experience of the moment. And when that experience is what would appear to be something that may be called by traditional psychology as dissociation, depersonalization, derealization, and other forms of chronic anxiety, reactions to chronic anxiety, which is a sustained state of high intensity sensation. And again, it's the brain's natural mechanism to have a reaction to that. And I am trying to consciously override that reaction by teaching the brain and the body that it is in fact safe, even in feeling extreme things, even in feeling, because I feel a lot of things, even in feeling high intensity energy, high voltage electricity charging through my body, whether it is perceived by the mind as negative or positive. It feels intense sensation, and I want to stay there with it. I want to stay present in the sensation and not be pushed out of it, away from it, because something in the brain perceives it as too much and therefore a threat. It is amazing the things that the mind perceives as threatening. Social rejection is a threat, but it deepens. It deepens when there is one you have strong feeling for. And then the brain, the ego, will perceive the potential of that rejection as being such a significant and serious threat that it is actually life or death, and it creates such anxiety that it would ward you away from it, right? It creates this sense of wanting to be alone because that is perceived as safe by the mind, because what's the alternative? Even with the potential of being actually truly accepted, because it's afraid of that too, in a different way. It's afraid of rejection, it's afraid of exception. So one way or another, it's going to have to just deal with it But it's so afraid because it's basing everything on past experience with transactional, ego-based relating, which is not this. It's so challenging. The mind can't see down this corridor. Again, the heart wants to trust. The heart wants what it wants. It wants to adventure and explore and experience because it knows everything is good. Everything is always working out for it, for the self, for the soul. It knows that the way reality is created is by dreaming and desiring, and then allowing that new potential to fill in. The brain does not get this. It doesn't get it, and it's afraid of it because it can't understand that process, and whatever it can't understand, it is afraid of. And it becomes so afraid, it perceives it as life-threatening, and then has reactions like the creation of a dissociative state. So even when something really, really wanted and really, really good and really awesome, something that feels really good is happening, the brain can reject that, move into dissociation, cut off the sensation because it doesn't understand it, it's not accustomed to it. It's a wild thing to witness. But I get it. And I get why this is such a challenge for divine masculine specifically. The mind is masculine energy. And if you are one who has lived dominantly in that energy, as most of us have, not all, thank God. But if that is just your natural expression, it would seem, then you're in a continuous, I don't want to say struggle, because we're releasing those things. But your brain is wired to have a hairpin trigger. So that strong emotion of any kind has the potential to create anxiety and dissociation. And then you just feel kind of stuck, free floating, and you have to learn how to relax into the dissociative state. You have to learn how to experience it as just another kind of sensation, because itself, even though it's a numbing, is a sort of intense sensation. It can be intensely uncomfortable. So like other kinds of pain, you have to learn how to relax into the feeling of no feeling, the feeling of emptiness, the feeling of disconnect, which is also simultaneously disturbing to the mind. It's fascinating how it pushes one into this place of disconnection from the body, and then it freaks out there too. And goes, oh my God, I don't like this. But because it's freaking out, it's keeping itself there. So you have to find a place to surrender, to just relax, again, accepting that this is what is, this is the experience of the moment. If this is the sensation that is present, intense numbness, a feeling of disconnect, then that is what we're going to embrace. We're going to let that be felt fully, because it is in fact still a feeling. The feeling of no feeling is very much a feeling. It's the only way back in. The only way back in is through the body, is through feeling, not allowing the mind to continue asking its questions. That just keeps us out, up and out and away. We gotta put down the questions, put down the thinking, which itself, again, ironically, it's not the right word, but amazingly becomes another source of panic for the mind, because it thinks it has to think its way out of this, right? It's got to think its way out of the dissociative state, even though it's thinking that puts one in that state. And it also can have the effect of blanking, where it's hard to think. So the brain is thinking, I gotta think, but I'm struggling to think. And it's freaking out more and more and more. It's having thoughts. But it's so focused on the discomfort and trying to think its way into relaxation that it can't think about anything else. So if you are in a conversation, I experience this as a tremendous blanking. It's like a big empty space. I think it's what other people and I have experienced in certain social situations where something happens, like someone asks you, so what's your favorite band? And you have the experience of just suddenly being unable to remember any music that you have listened to ever. It's like you've never heard music in your life. And you're just going, I know I have one. I know I have some music that I like, but it's inaccessible. It just sort of blocks those things out. Had it happen where my name was asked, and briefly I couldn't remember my name. But it happens in bigger ways too, at least in my personal experience of it. And not even triggered by a question necessarily. That's what's fascinating. It can be triggered by just even the thought of a potential social interaction, or not even a social interaction, something like making food. Suddenly, it's like I've never cooked anything in my life, and I don't know how it works. I just can't even conjure the image of cooking. I can't see myself having ever done it. It's like how does that work? I don't know if this is making any sense, but something happens that triggers the perception of threat by ego, and that something can just be a thought, not an actual experience. That something can even be a very innocuous, totally inane thought, but ego finds something in there to perceive as threatening, and then it's lights out across the board. It shuts everything down. And then you're just sitting there, or sitting in my case, feeling like all of mental processing has suddenly been turned off, which of course it hasn't, because at the same time it's actually an overdrive. Going, oh my God, we can't think. We can't think. Why can't we think? We don't know anything. We gotta know something. Come up with something. If we don't know something, it's all gonna fall apart. It's a feedback loop. The only way out of which I have found is accepting, again, the thoughts that are happening, accepting the knowing of nothing, accepting the sensation of lack of sensation, or whatever it is awareness that there's actually anxiety there. Trying to feel whatever it is that I can feel, wherever I can feel it. And pulling out of the mind, saying, there's nothing here. There is nothing here to be done. There's nothing we need to do. We're gonna just be. We're gonna just feel this. We're gonna surrender to this feeling of feeling disconnected, of feeling dissociated, of whatever. We're gonna try not to even label it. We're just gonna go into the experience of this feeling in this moment. And it's a challenge enough to experience alone. It is both more and less challenging to feel around someone else. More because it's likely that the brain perceived some sort of threat as a part of interaction. Or even just the suggestion of a future interaction. But less because there is someone there who can hold you through it. And be there to witness you and say, it is okay. You're allowed to feel this. You're safe. I see you. I love you. I accept you in this moment exactly as you are. Helping you to just remember that you are safe and you are well and you are loved, because these things are always true. Whether you are receiving that information from another self or from the rest of yourself. And it is always a matter of finding a way to feel safe again. From my experience, from my understanding, and that's all I can speak to because it's mine and nobody else has it. But it's all that matters to me because it's mine. Finding a way to feel safe again in the body. That's what it's all about. And letting go of thought, letting go of thinking. Realizing again, I am not thought. Thought doesn't belong to me and I don't belong to it. I don't need to do anything. Thinking is doing. I don't need to produce a thought. I don't need to produce to receive. I don't need to produce a thought to be worthy of being cared for abundantly by the universe, provided for, loved, appreciated. I can be thoughtless. I am allowed. This is allowed. That's allowed. I am allowed to put down thought and just be, and be empty and know nothing and be comfortable with knowing nothing, perhaps not even my name in this moment, and just let that happen. Because truthfully, I am never more authentically myself than when I am undefined. So let me just be that. I am safe to be that. I'm safe to be undefined and unknown. And ego is terrified of that, of course. Because that's the letting go of it. That is the feeling of death for ego. And it wants the association of consciousness with that, of yourself with itself, so that it can preserve itself. Again, it's all been a part of protecting the physical form, keeping it alive. That's important. That's appreciated. It's gone screwy. Ego has gone mad. The mind is quite insane. But it'll tell you you're the crazy one, of course, to try to get away from it, to try to observe it in all of its writhing. And it'll say, no, that's dangerous. That's crazy. You're insane to be doing this, to be looking at the self, at thoughts, and not identifying with them. And again, that's where that different form of depersonalizing comes in, but you're developing a different sense of self. You're establishing yourself as something other than thought, feeling, awareness. It's a challenging thing to put into words, but I want to try, because it is meaningful to me and it is my experience, and I want to integrate this. I want to integrate and accept this part of myself, of my being, of my experience here in this physical realm. Because it's here. And I know I have the power to find a way not just to accept this, but to appreciate it, actually, genuinely. Certainly the feeling of disconnection enhances my appreciation for connection. That's true, big time. My desire and appreciation of the experience of intensely aware and sensational connection is only increased by the experience of perceived disconnect. It's never actual disconnect. That's not possible. It's just the perception of it. So I'm grateful for that, and I know that there is a part of me that really, really wants that experience. And maybe I can just let it actually feel good in the feeling of dissociation and disconnection. I can recognize that something in me is having a desire fulfilled, the desire to feel disconnected. It is succeeding wildly in that. I feel that there's a power in accepting that, in admitting that something in me wants to feel dissociated, feel separate, feel apart from, feel alien and other and disconnected. and it is rejoicing, and I'm going to allow it to. I'm going to acknowledge, validate, and permit that experience. And let it actually have fun with that feeling and thoughts like, I feel nothing, I'm so disconnected, I am empty, I'm nothing, I'm whatever. Whatever it wants to think that enhances that state. I'm just watching and seeing how it's enjoying that. Genuinely. Having a good time with it. I can just observe that. I can allow that. I can give myself permission to feel fully the pleasure that it's feeling in the sensory perception of disconnection. There's actually feeling there. I mean, sacral and root chakra pulsation. That'll be an interesting one to work with. This part of shadow, which craves all of the illusory stuff, lack, scarcity, disconnect, essentially, separation. It really wants those experiences. So recognizing that this is a part of that desire, and that shadow is a part of myself, I can reach the conclusion internally in my perception that dissociation is a desired experience by myself, and I can in fact allow myself to take pleasure in the fulfillment of that desire, in the manifestation of that experience, and acknowledge as it is happening, this is what is asked for by a part of me, I gratefully receive. Gratefully. That's fascinating. The visceral experience of all of this, just there's nothing that I have found compares to it in traditional psychotherapy. Having been to many therapists and on many medications for many, many years, nothing has been as transformative, positively and powerfully transformative in my perception of consciousness and experience of reality as this. So I'm going to keep doing this because it feels good. I mean, bottom line, it feels good. And what is the only thing that I really want to do? What is the only motivation, inspiration, actually, for anything is feeling good. It's good feeling. I get to choose to feel good. This is the thing that feels good I can choose to do for myself, so I'm going to do that. And feel empowered in that too. I feel the power of that moving through me, of I am pleasing myself right now and nobody can stop me. I am taking care of me. I am taking charge of my own pleasure, my joy, all of it. And expanding in the process, becoming more myself in the process, but that's not even the point. The point is just to feel good. Really, truly, that's it. That is the only intention. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to find ways to have fun with all of it, even something like dissociation and disconnection and anxiety. I'm going to find ways to have fun with that. Because I can. And I want to. So I do. That's it. And I am tremendously, beyond description, grateful for the loving witness and acceptance of other selves in this experience. In particular, the one that has been witnessing me in this for many, many months now. From the start. Basically, from the start. Not even going to get into how fascinating all of that is, but I am truly grateful, and I'm grateful for you right now. Whatever you are experiencing and witnessing within yourself, you're not wrong. You are safe. You are loved. You are accepted. You're appreciated. You're perfect exactly as you are. Exactly as you are right now. Whatever it is you're feeling, whatever it is you're experiencing, right now, you're good. So perfectly good. And it is so absolutely okay to feel what you're feeling and not ask it to change. You don't need to change. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to be anything. Nothing needs to be different. Nothing. You're good right now. You're taken care of. I promise you that. It's all taken care of. It's all working out for you. You don't have to know how. You don't even have to see it. It's happening anyway. You don't have to believe it. It's happening anyway. So you're safe to feel exactly what you're feeling. As much as you're feeling it, in whatever way you're feeling it, you're safe to do that. To have this experience in yourself, outside of yourself, all of it is A-okay. It is more than fine. You're safe to be exactly as you are right now. However that changes or doesn't change, that's fine too. You're safe to continue being in whatever way that you be. I love you. I got you. You're good. You are well, worthy, accepted, and held. And everything is exactly as it should be. So just take a deep breath. Relax into it, whatever it is. Let it happen. It's okay. It's okay. Your hand is held. So is the rest of you. Let's just take it easy, yeah? Let's find a way to let this be good, because it is. Let's find a way to have fun. There's nothing serious going on here. There's nothing serious as it might feel, and that's allowed. There's still nothing serious going on here. Nothing serious. There's still no threat. As scary and threatening and dangerous and uncomfortable as it feels, there's still no threat. Even the feeling of that is not a threat. You're safe to feel that. So let it be felt. And let yourself just be. Thank you for your witness. If you're one who has witnessed, I am witnessing you. And you're so good. So good. And perfect. And well. and secure and safe and stable and absolutely loved by everything that is right now and always. You don't have to believe it. It's still true, no matter what. Have a beautiful night. I love you. Take it easy.